So hello everyone, welcome back to the next part of the student registry application. In this, we are facing the error of the intent of get parsable extra. So we have to do some changes here, and we have to rephrase it by using the student ID. So in previous video, we have set up all the like the repository and the view model and the recycler view and this adapter class. So if you doesn't go has to that video, so we have to go there and watch it. Then after you can join this video and only you can proceed further. So in this video we are going to resolve this thing, like we are getting data from the student by using the student ID. So we have to do some major changes in our code. So let's remove the code here first, and let's get started. So these are the things. So what we have to do, we have to create a method which is going to fetch the student by using the student ID. So we have to write a query first for getting the student. So let's get started. So in this here, what we have to do, we have to use a query here. In this query we have to write our query, which is select, okay, select star from students where ID and ID equals to ID. Okay, so let's create a method here, and by using this method we are getting our student data by using the ID. So let's write this method. We have to write a fun here, and we have to write the get student by ID. Okay, so we have to use the int ID here, which is ID, which is type of int, and which is returning a data which is known as the live data. And in this live data we are passing our student here. Okay, so let's complete this method and override it in our other classes as well. So let's get started to the like in the repository thing. So we have to write a method here, which is a function, and in this we are using the get student by ID, and we are using the ID and the int, which is int data type, and we are expecting a return type which is a live data. In this live data we are getting the student object. Okay, so now what we have to do, we have to just return the value. So what is the we are going to return, which is the student now dot get student by ID, and we are just passing the ID here. Okay, so this is the code of the student repository, and this is the code for the student DAO. Okay, and now what we have to do, we have to write the same code for fetching the data from the view model. So let's write it here as well. So we have to write another function, which is get student by ID, and we are just getting the data here by which is we are passing the ID here, just type of int, and returning a live data which is a type of student. Okay, so that, and we also return something which is the repository dot get student by ID. We are just passing the ID here. So we have written all the code, and we are ready to go to write the code in our student registry or from the main activity. So whatever we are going to use, we can use it here. So in this student registry we have already resetting all the code here. So first of all we have to change this to the int, okay, and which is also known as the current student ID. We have to change the name as well, current student ID. So let's write the code for getting the data from the register activity. So now what we have to do, we have nothing to do. We have initialized our view model here, and we have to write its ID, and then we have to continue. Okay, so let's fetch the current student ID, which is intent dot get int extra. In this extra int, we have using the student underscore ID here, and we are also passing a default value which is -1. Okay, so we are getting the data from the previous screen, and for once we click on any of the item, so we are getting this student ID here, and by using this student ID we have to populate our data. Now what we have to do, we will have to just check that we are coming from the item click or from the our own manner, or for registering a new register user. So let's use our view model dot get a student by ID. Okay, sorry, we have to just first check it, then we have to write the code, which is if current student ID is not equal to -1. Okay, so it is by default value is the -1, so we are going to check it here, and we have to write the code between this. Okay, so now what we have to do, we have to use our view model, and by get the student by ID, and we are passing the ID here. Okay, and then we have to observe it a little bit. Okay, is there any, sorry, current student ID. Okay, and we have to use the null safety, I think. Okay, so it has not been null, and then we have to observe it, which is we are passing the context is this, and by using this we have to use the student that we are getting, and we are using a lambda function here, basically a student, and in this lambda function we are going to measure student Elvis operator, and we are using the let method. Okay, in this let method we have to populate the data. Okay, populate the student details. Okay, and we have to just pass the ID here. Okay, sorry, not ID, we have to pass the student here, so which is it. Okay, so here we are getting the error because we didn't created the populated student details, so we have to create this method first, and just click on this, and in this method we are write some code here. Okay, so we are going to bind our data, bind the first name dot set text, and this we are going to use the it dot first name. Okay, so in this we have to write this again and again for the all the things, for edit last name, edit roll number, edit school name, and here we also need to initialize by using the last name and roll number and the school name. Okay, so we have to populate the details of the user on this edit text here, and then we have to write some more code for saving the data and for the writing the data. Okay, so in this screen we have to write some code for the button save. So what is happening here, in this code we have to use the binding dot button save, and we have to use the set on click listener. In this listener we have to write a create a object of the student class, and we have to insert in our database. So what we have to do, we have to create a val here which is known as the student, this type of student, and we are using the student object here. So we have to just use the student object, and by ID we have to use the ID, and this ID we have using the current student ID, which can be null, okay, which can be null, so it will be 0. Okay, and then we have to pass the first name here, first name, which can be getting from the binding dot edit first name dot text dot toString. Okay, and we have to just get it here, and we have to write the last name as well. Okay, and we are just passing the our binding. This binding, we are getting the edit last name and dot text dot toString. Okay, and place a comma, and we have to pass the roll number as well. In this roll number, we are getting the data from our edit text here, which is okay, so which can be last name. So what we have to do, we are using the roll number, edit roll number dot text dot toString. Okay, so and we have to also use the school name, which is the binding dot edit school name dot text dot toString here. Okay, so we have initialized each and every detail here, and by using this we can also, we didn't use the id for because it is an auto increment. If we can go here, so it is not a valid thing to introduce it here, but if we wanted to update our data, so we can do it, and as of now it is not needed, but rest we can write it here. Okay, so and then when everything is done, so we have to insert the data in our view model dot insert, and we can pass the student. Okay, yeah, and we have to finish the activity. Okay, so this is the all the code of the inserting of data, and let's write the code for deleting the data from our database. So how we can do it, we can also use the binding for it. Sorry, okay, so we are using the binding for it. In this binding, sorry, we have to get some space here. Binding dot delete button. Okay, so here we have to write our code dot set on click listener. Okay, so as we know, like our button is visibility is gone, so we have to make it visible first for using it. Okay, so let's make it visible. So how we can check that the it is for deleting or it is just for creating? So let's check it, and by using the button delete, binding dot button delete dot visibility, it is totally depend if current student id is not equal to -1. Okay, and so we have to use the view view dot visible. Okay, and we have to use the else condition as well, else view dot gone. Okay, so here we have handled the visibility as well, and then we have to write the code for deleting our thing. So what we have to do, we have to use the delete by id. So let's see, here we have a code for delete by id or not. Okay, so we are getting the student here. Okay, so we have to do some changes. Okay, so delete student, we have to replace it by using delete by id. Okay, and in this we have to get the id type of int. Okay, so let's remove it, and we have to also write the query for it. Okay, so we have to use the query for it as well. Query delete from students where id equal to id. Okay, so we are using this method. We have to remove the student one, and we can use it in the repository as well. So here the student by id, and we can also use the id here, and by using the int. Okay, and we are just passing the id equal to id. Okay, so then we have to use this delete method here. Okay, in this repository, so we can also use by using the id here. So we have to get the id from here. Okay, and we are just passing the id from in the view model, and just passing the id here. So everything is done, and just click on delete. Okay, so in register activity we have to write our code for deleting. So now what we have to do, we have to use the view model dot delete, and we can just pass the id here. Okay, which is the current student id. Okay, and which can be null. So let's check if everything is correct or not. Okay, so let's use this in the another way. We have to check the let. We can use the scope function for checking the current student. So we can also use this method, which is very helpful to us. So we have to use let here. In this let, we have to use our view model dot delete, and we can pass the it here, which can be not null, and we can also finish our activity. So this is done from our end, and in the final video we have going to set up the main activity. And in this main activity, we are just, when the user going to click on this screen, it can be over to the register activity. So that's all for this video, and let's wait for the final video. So be with us for the final video and demonstration of the application. So thank you very much.